So we need to, once the stream comes up, I'm going to post it in the other room. So look. Okay, so we should be, let's go to YouTube, and then we should be live.
Okay.
Live. There it is. So if we go there, copy that, and let me go to the old video, which is here, and then post that in there, and then type new room. Right. Right. Okay.
We're back.
Yeah, hopefully people will start to come back and come into the room. So at the moment, no joy. So the only thing I can do is find the old stream. Let's quickly do this. Oh, what a palaver. Let's find the old... Oh, there we go.
Ah, there we go.
Right. So anyway, so as I was saying, where were we before my microphone or something died?
Well, I finished talking about myself and my show, and then I rattled on as you were doing some technical stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I was just rattling.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So paranormal, live streaming, and the podcasting. When did you start your podcast, by the way? How long has it been going now?
I started this thing back March of 2020, 2021. When was it? Yeah, it's been over a year now. Yeah. So, and I plan, no plans to stop yet. I'm loving it. I don't know about you, but this has been just kind of just very eye-opening for me.
Yeah.
And a whole new world. And
Yeah.
I've met so many just crazy, amazing people in this process. I just never thought I would be doing this. I don't know how long have you been actually podcasting?
Well, podcasting about... I'm kind of on and off. We started podcasting doing a show, but I wouldn't really call it a podcast. It was just Gareth and myself chatting about the paranormal, and we would just record it and put it up online for people to listen to. And then we kind of realized that I guess we're podcasters now. And yeah, and it was like, well, let's just kind of, people were enjoying it. Let's put more stuff out and let's get a little bit more polished and stuff like that. So yeah, we did it. We did it for a while, and I've kind of, that went, I mean, God, it's got to be 10, 12 years been doing it now. So it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while.
But no signs of stopping. You're full steam ahead.
No, I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it. It is fun. And I do find that the great thing is I've met some really cool people, and thanks to some of the listeners out there who wrote into the show and said, hey, really happy you're back, really happy that you're doing the show, but hey, wouldn't it be good if you brought in some guests and pick their brains? And I was a bit, to be honest with you, at the beginning I was a little bit reluctant. I thought, well, I don't know these people, and I couldn't rekindle what Gareth and I was doing. So I thought, well, all right, I'll give it a go. And I'm glad that they did bug me to do it, because it really turned the show around. It gave it a new a kind of dynamic that I wanted to do. And like you have guests on, that when you have a guest and you get chatting about stuff, the conversation, it goes everywhere, doesn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. Anywhere. Yeah, you just get lost in it. My side still hurt from laughing so much the last episode that I did. Yeah, the guests that I get on here are just really a treasure. And I think I was hesitant too about doing guests on my show. I just wanted to do my thing. I just wanted to do this educational aspect of it. And then I'm terribly shy. So I was like, oh, I don't know if I'll know how to, ask them the right questions and lead the conversation, because you do have to kind of take control a little bit, and then you just let them go.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest secret I found is, oh no, just keep going. Yeah, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
just love these conversations, that you have. Yeah, but I
So
was hesitant too.
So I was going to say, when you do get talking to people and they start to tell you their stories, I think
Yeah.
that's an interesting part of interviewing people is when
Yeah.
they tell you about their past and the things that they've experienced, and then you find commonalities with the way that you've experienced things. I mean, people watching this stream right now, they might have things happen in their life, and they're like, "Well, I'm not sure what that was." It's
Hmm.
unexplained, or I'm a bit confused about what that was, and it kind of when you have those things happen, you either kind of forget about it and go, "Well, clearly that was just whatever. It was a bird or whatever,"
Mm.
and or it was something more. And then you think, "Well, possibly, it needs to be questioned." So I think it's good when you do talk to people like that, and you kind of opens your mind a little bit. And I've learned quite a lot from talking to other people and just asking questions. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And both you and them maybe feel a
yeah,
little less crazy because you get to share one in the passion of this stuff, but two, yeah, maybe you do have similar experiences or, oh, you experienced the Hat Man. I did too. I was a kid and you get to share those experiences. And even if you don't find common ground and you don't have the same, agreement on whatever the subject is, even that in itself, like we can come together as this community and be like, well, I think it's this. Well, I think it's this, and still come together at the end of it, even
mm,
if you disagree on it. Because there's
yeah,
there's quite a bit about this world that more mainstream thoughts about it,
yeah.
like thoughts about evil or demons or whatever that I don't necessarily agree with. But yeah, I've found the troop that I agree with, and then the other, and then I've talked to that side as well, and it's all just really fascinating.
So where do you what I mean, it's halfway through the year at the moment, and summer's coming. Well, I don't know if our summer's coming yet. I'd like some summer, please. Thank you very much.
Okay.
But but summer's coming, and I hope to go out and do some investigations, and or at least go somewhere that apparently someone said there's a ghost or something. I want to do something like that.
Yeah.
Have you got anything planned like that? Any field trips?
Okay, so nothing's set in stone. I would love to go on another investigation.
Yeah,
I've done a couple, not professionally or anything, but I've done a couple, and those are a lot of fun always. But the thing I've got kind of on my mind, and I'm keeping my eye out for, are paranormal conventions this
yeah,
year. I
yeah, yeah,
really want to get to one. There's a couple of great ones in Michigan. I've got my eye on, and it's just a matter of coordinating and getting the money together and traveling.
yeah,
But I think that would just be a lot of fun. So if
yeah.
anybody's got any recommendations, I'm looking for recommendations for great conventions to go to. That's where I want to
So
be.
okay, so what do you think about? I mean, talking about conventions and stuff. I've got some news stories, and one of them is if you're old school and you go back to the days of ghost hunters, when ghost hunters first came on the scene, you had a lot of up and coming public figures that were into the paranormal. There's a new show coming in. I think it's Scotland. It's got Gail Porter, which is she's a bit of a UK celeb over here. Well, not so much now, but was back in the 90s, which you
Hmm.
were maybe. And she's doing a paranormal show with a certain psychic from maybe your neck of the woods, not exactly your neck of the woods, but from
Yeah.
your side of the pond, Chris Fleming.
Chris
Do you
Fleming.
remember Chris Fleming from the early days?
I do not recall ever watching him on any show or anything. I recognize the name though, but I don't know much about him.
So okay, so he's a renowned psychic. Okay,
Mhm.
and he's been in the news lately because there's this new show called Spooked Scotland, and his co-host is Gail Porter, and it kind of has they go around to different places and they tell the history, and and it's that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I was looking at this news report, and I don't want to be flippant, okay, but it's the way that they're written. You can't you can't help but look at these news reports and have a bit of a giggle. So so I'm not really honestly I'm not trying to yeah but let's just right. So let me just read you. Let me just read you the first part. Okay. So it says telepsychic Chris Fleming has claimed he was violated by a ghost while visiting Sterling's historic Old Town jail. Right. That's the first part. And then it says the renowned medium was filming for a new series, Spooked Scotland, with Gail Porter, when they visited the prison in search of a reported poltergeist. Right now, so Chris was in a room used 170 years ago for prisoners and medical exams when he felt what he described as an embarrassing and not pleasant experience. Your mind boggles, doesn't it? Your mind boggles when you hear stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, looking visibly shaken, he was forced to flee the room, and he said that he's in no doubt the spirit carried out the violation in order to make him leave the jail. What's your thoughts on that?
I hope they caught that on camera. I would have loved to have seen that, like, the look, when that happened. Um, yeah, I don't, because I think about the spirit,
Yeah.
actually,
Okay.
because this is an old place,
Yeah.
right?
It is. Yeah.
Is there a spirit there after 100 and however many years that's just kinda doomed to spend
Um.
their eternity, giving those types of exams? Like, is that
Yeah.
that would
Okay.
be a terrible.
You've raised an interesting point there that maybe that the experience that you had was the maybe it was an angry doctor that's like now a ghost, and he wants to continue doing his exams. I mean, I'm just speculating. I am no
Yeah,
I you know I'm just speculating because I'm not there. I wasn't there with Chris. I wasn't on the investigation or anything like that. I'm just reading I'm reading something on the internet. And the thing is that what I love about reading these things is I think the person that sits down and goes, right, I'm going to have some fun with this, you know, the ghost, in the room touched his bottom or whatever.
mhm,
We're going to have some
mhm.
fun with this. But my point being, there's always a serious side to what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And my point being is that when you read stories like this, and then it's kind of a little bit of a comedy value to it, because they want people to read it. They want people
sure.
to sort of read along. It kind of has a negative effect on people that are actually out there really doing research, you know?
Doing the real work, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, if Chris Fleming were to tell you, I mean, he is doing the real work that's just happened, but as a psychic medium, I'm sure, this isn't, anything new to him, like, I'm
yeah.
sure he's experienced things over the decades that he's been active too.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, the thing is, he noticed that he says, earlier on his visit to Stirling Town Jail, Chris was left screaming, with pain after feeling the sensation of a needle being stabbed into his back.
Mm.
And you get that sometimes with, people who are, sensitive. I don't know
Mhm.
what it is. I don't know what it is, and I'm just saying, I'm just saying that I don't like the word psychic. I don't know what it is. I don't like that word. When
You
someone says, yeah, I'm a psychic," I'm like, "Oh, don't say that word. You're not. Don't say it."
it's got some baggage to
It
it, yeah.
has. Yeah,
Mhm.
when you say psychic, I think of the old lady on Poltergeist. The little lady comes in.
Yep, yep.
That's immediately what I think,
Mhm.
and I think to myself, just, call yourself like a ghost whisperer or something. Yeah, call
Well,
yourself mildly sensitive or something.
yeah,
I don't
because
know.
you automatically think of that stereotyped, like,
Yeah,
gazing into the crystal
yeah,
ball and reading fortune telling.
yeah,
And I think that's, unfortunately, that's been that stereotype that people have in their heads since, like the spiritualist movement.
yeah.
But I wonder, so you don't like the word psychic?
Uh,
What is there another, aside from ghost whisper, like, what about
yeah.
medium? Is that more serious? Can
Medium.
that be?
Yeah, yeah, it's those words. I don't know what it is. Maybe they've got sort of very sort of, as you say, spiritualist, Victorian connotations. Not that I've got anything
Yeah.
against that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's all bad. I'm not saying that a minute. I'm just saying that when you say that word to someone, if I'm thinking in my head, I'm at a party, I'm having, having a shandy. and guy comes up to me and goes, "Hello, my name's Colin," and I go, "Hello, Colin." I shake his hand. He goes, "I'm a psychic." I'm
Mm.
like, "No, you're not."
Oh.
No. If he said, "Hi, my name is Colin. I'm a ghost whisperer," or
Mm.
I'm a I'm a medium, I would like, really? Tell me more.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I would have a listen. But it's just that kind of I'm a psychic. It's like maybe it's because television and media have used those words for so long. Maybe
Definitely,
they've
oh, yeah,
yeah.
overuse them, and I don't know that, like, up until recently, I really didn't know exactly what that meant, to be quite honest. I didn't know there was a difference between psychic,
Mm,
the word, and medium, the
yeah,
word. I thought they were one and the same, which they can be, but not necessarily. Like, psychic is this whole big, like,
yeah.
umbrella term. It can describe any sensitivity,
Mhm.
any extra ability, that sort of thing. Yeah, when you actually, like, research or, like, look into it a little bit more, it's less. I don't know, I guess I'm less flippant about it
Yeah.
now. Not that I buy it completely, but, yeah, just a little more understanding that, "Oh, this can mean all sorts of things."
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that if somebody says to me, I can see ghosts or I can talk to. I'm not going to go. Don't be stupid." You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, who am I? If somebody's having experience in stuff, then I'm not. Who am I to say, that they're not? That's not a thing. I actually, little story. When I was younger, I had a friend whose nan she would read tea leaves, and we would go
Hmm,
around his well in the old days, grandparents used to live with parents. Well, no, they used to live with their sons and daughters, you know?
uh-huh.
So I had a friend, I'd go around and he would go, "Oh, it's just my nan. That my nan lives with us." I thought he had like two mums and one was really old and one was really young, but it was actually, it was like his nan. And she used to read tea leaves. And what she used to do would drink the tea out of the teapot, drink the tea, and then she would uh, you know, in the cup, read them, and she would say stuff. "Oh, it's going to rain tomorrow," and I would like it would boggle my mind. That would boggle my mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. That's just that is a thing, and uh, fascinating. Back then, I was a little kid. I thought she had like proper like wizard. I thought she was like a wizardess or something. You
Was
know.
she ever right?
Well, I don't. I'm not going to say that she wasn't right because I was a little kid and I just, I didn't really listen. I didn't really take much notice. But I remember one day she did say it was going to be. She was talking, not talking to me. She was talking to her daughter, my friend's mum, and
Mhm.
she said, "You want to go down you want to go down the shops in the morning because it's gonna bucket with rain tomorrow afternoon." Because I looked in the after I had my tea, I looked in the tea leaves, and that's what it said. And I didn't think nothing of it. And when I was at school the next day, it literally bucketed down in the afternoon. It was like heavens opened, literally. And I was
Wow.
thinking, yeah, no, I was thinking to myself, well, she can read the weather. That's amazing. Because I was a little kid. I was only like, what, I don't know, 9, 10. I wasn't very old.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just stuff like that. It's things like that that stick with you, and you go through your life, and you experience stuff like that, and then you get older, and then your TV shows pick up on these kind of
Mm.
catchwords and psychic and medium and stuff, and then they lose their. I think they lose their kind of true meaning of what the ramifications of what they hold. Back in the
Yeah.
day, if somebody was a medium, or I mean, it's yeah, I mean, it's like the whole UFO thing. That's another conversation, but it's not a UFO anymore now. It's got a new word, so it's because there's a new buzzword. So yeah. Um. Anyway, so yeah, so Chris Fleming went to a jail, and a ghost gave him a little touch inappropriately, and yeah. So anyway, so we've got some more stories. I want to go on to another one a minute. There's
Alright.
another one here. I want to pick another one. Oh, this is a good one. So old houses. What's your thought? So, what's your thought on old houses and ghosts? Do you think that if a house is old, right, and lots of people have lived there, that the chances of it being haunted are quite high, or do you think that it's not necessarily the house? Do you think it's the land or the area? What's your thoughts on that a minute?
Ooh, both. I think it can definitely be both the land and the structure itself that is on the land.
Hmm.
I think that anything is capable of kind of soaking up that energy, especially with something that's been around for so long and so many people and energies coming, to and fro throughout. Absolutely, I 100% think that those types of places and the land
Yep.
itself, because anything could have happened there. It could have been built on an old battlefield, and you've got soldiers running through your, kitchen 8 o'clock every night. So yeah, it can definitely carry that. As far as, do I think it's more likely? I guess it just depends on, what happened over the last century or however long the house has been standing. If there
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of erratic emotional stuff going on, or something that would have been big enough to imprint that energy on the place. Not necessarily. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's going to be haunted.
True. That's I totally agree. I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think that if it's an old building, um, not necessarily going to be haunted.
Hmm.
I've got this fascination with. I always go on about it. It's going to go. People are going to go. He's going on about it again. Castles and manor houses. I love them. I don't know why. I just like the feel of them.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the history. Maybe it is the history, but not necessarily haunted or anything. But it's just the feel of them.
We
Anyway.
do we do
Oh,
love to
sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, we do love to think
Yeah.
that an old place is going to be, you go in there and you feel that there's an energy to it. There absolutely is, and you like to think there's something there. Alright, go
Mm.
on. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so I wanted to read this headline. Man renovates house, discovers hidden box with "do not release" carved into it. I mean, that's the headline. And it gets a bit weird now because it says the man took to TikTok. He took to TikTok, so he's found a box. He's in an old house. He's renovating it, and it's got quite ominous. It's got "do not release" carved into the box. And the
Mhm.
first thing he does is he goes to TikTok. That's the first thing. He doesn't go
Yeah.
to a priest, he goes to TikTok. So the man took to TikTok, showcasing this truly terrifying bricked behind a wall in the attic. So this is like a room that's been sealed off, right? And it says the man who has been renovating his home and documenting his progress via TikTok made a truly terrifying find behind a bricked up wall in his attic, right? It says social media user. I got to say his name because it's only fair, and it's a great name as well. GBTV, isn't that great? It
Mhm.
just rolls
Mhm.
off your tongue. GBT. I wish I'd thought of
It's very
that.
fluid.
Very. And he said he was attempting to fill in the gaps in the wall with insulation when he realised something was hidden between the bricks.
Mhm.
A small locked wooden box with a. This is even weirder now. A small locked wooden box with a pentagram etched on one side of the box, and it had the words uh, "Pidwich are I'm not Welsh because I can't speak Welsh, but it says Pindwich are Ridar or something. I apologise to Welsh people that I've just murdered that word, but in English it says well, in English it just basically translates to "do not release." And
Mhm.
said a week later, while continuing his renovation in his room, the man noticed a mirror in the corner that rattled when he moved it, uh, but the edges were tightly sealed of the mirror. So, what would you do if you found a mirror that did that? Would you try and fit?
Ooh.
What would you? I'm not going to tell you what he did. I want to hear what you would do a minute.
Pick my own adventure. I love
Yeah,
these. If I was in his situation,
yeah. What would you do at
um,
this point? Up to this point, what would you do?
okay, and I gotta be careful because I actually know about this.
Right.
Um, you know what? I love old mirrors. I don't know that I would do anything. I would leave that box where it's at. It says "Do not release." There's a pentagram on it. It's
Yep.
nasty. It was buried behind some bricks for some
Yep.
reason.
Yep.
And then I would shine that dang mirror up and put it on my wall. Yeah,
Okay.
that's history.
Well, I think you and him are on different sides of the penny because it says curiosity got the better of him, and he took a hammer and smashed up the glass.
Mm,
Uh,
that seems like
a
an
move,
overreaction.
but quite aggressive, quite an angry move. That, according to the superstition, it brings 7 years bad luck.
Mhm.
Behind the mirror, someone had hidden the key to the locked chest he found earlier. Now that's weird, that isn't it? I mean, so he goes upstairs to do some renovation in his attic. It's an
Mhm.
old house. It is an old house with big wooden beams. It's like proper old. But he's doing renovations. He finds a secret room with a wooden chest, well, a wooden box. And on the wooden box is a pentagram. And it's got words on it saying, "Do not release."
Mhm.
And then he finds the mirror, and and in the back of the mirror, behind the actual mirror, is a key which opens the box. I mean,
Yeah,
what
it's
more of a warning do you need?
it's
Really?
it's a little, eerie and foreboding.
Yeah.
It's a little convenient too, that that was his very next choice and just happened to find the key.
It is a bit, yeah, it is. But do you know what? On the upside, some 25 million people have watched the video that we
Yeah.
made.
Mhm.
25 million. I can't imagine that number. 25 million people have watched the video, and according to the most recent clip, while hundreds of people have been warning him to leave the box alone, others just like him were dying to see what was inside of it. So at this point, he's not actually opened the box. He said that when he did open the box, some really strange objects were inside, including a small pendant necklace, a burned piece of a Ouija board. It's getting interesting.
Mhm.
A lock of hair, and there was a second key left inside the box. Raising the question as to see what the second key is there another box? Okay, so this gets kind of deep now because thousands of people now are commenting on all of his clips,
Mhm.
and they're calling it staged. It's getting to the point now where it's the fun. It's got to that point now where it's flipped, and people are getting angry. There's that anger. You notice that, don't you, with some videos when people put stuff up and it's curious and everybody's into it, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden people are like, no, it's a hoax. Clearly, that's not real. You're just stringing us along. You're just,
Well, yeah, that I mean, that's that too convenient factors.
yeah.
People start to sense like, "Oh, really? Come on." Yeah, yeah, I would have been there too at that point.
Yeah. So anyway, there isn't much more to this story apart from, uh, and well, this one person said, uh, breaking the mirror gives you 7 years bad luck, and at least at that point, not good. And another person joked that now that you would be good time to burn the whole house down. So that's kind of nice, isn't it? Somebody actually telling you, well, you know what, just go burn your house down.
Yeah.
Just burn it. Just burn it all down. You know, that's kind of a bit. It doesn't really go anywhere. I want to know what it's got me now. It's got me hooked. I'm going to go to the guy's TikTok. I'm actually going to have to download the app and go
I'm
and find.
surprised you haven't seen that particular video that this article is referencing.
I
I'm
haven't.
surprised.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, yeah, because 'cause you've sent me all kinds of great
Yes,
things, so,
I have.
yeah.
So usually, have you seen this film, Kristen? And it's yeah. When was it made? Oh, 1972, in England. No, I've never seen that film. Strangely enough.
So odd. That's never come across my desk before.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
love,
yeah.
as anyone listening, knows, I do love my decade of the 70s and 80s. I mean, I was very fortunate. Anyone listening that hasn't listened to it, please go listen to the latest podcast, Scarred for Life, because Dave and Steve, great guys. They've done 2 mega books all about kids' TV in the 70s and 80s, growing up, the occult, uh, science fiction, paranormal. It's all there. It's amazing. It's a complete trip. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. But I've got another story, and this story is a little bit more different because this chap here, who's in this article, he is how can I put it? He had the headline, right, is where is it? Let me have a look. Here we go. So this headline, check this out. Uh, I've got to say hello to Steve. Hello, Steve. How are you? Right, thanks for coming and visiting the stream. Anyway, so man saw ghost in red coat after waking up from a 10-day coma.
Hmm,
Right, that's all right. So that's pretty cool.
okay.
So he saw a ghost in a red coat after waking up in in a 10-day coma. There's a reason that he was in a coma. He didn't just sleep a lot. There's a reason for it. So his name is Andrew Elkier Reeve. Okay, and he was admitted to hospital for what was meant to be a simple fix. That's even that sounds quite ominous. A simple fix. That sounds a bit like,
Mm-hmm. You preface a story like that. I know
a
it's not going
simple
to be so
fix.
simple. Yeah.
Well, the operation, it wasn't, as you might think it might be. It's an operation to aid the flow of blood to his legs. That's what it was. So apparently, if you need the operation in the hospital, they call it a simple fix. Right. So, so he momentarily died, apparently, and he claims he woke up from a coma and was met by a ghost woman wearing a red coat.
Ooh.
He was admitted to hospital for what was meant to be there's that simple fix again, to aid the blood flow to his leg. We just read that bit. Why are they putting that back in again?
What paper is this? What
Yeah.
sham of a reporter?
Oh, this is
All
the
right.
internet. This is the internet. We're in the internet now. This is
Really
great.
good source. No, go ahead. Keep going.
So the 63-year-old underwent surgery at York Hospital in 2020. So not that long ago. But complications led to him receiving 4 emergency operations in 4 days, leaving him
Oof.
in a 10-day coma. That's quite serious.
That's pretty
I mean,
serious.
that's
Yeah.
1 operation a day, and you're left in a coma. That's not good. When he eventually woke up, horrified Andrew realized that he had lost his sight. Wow.
Ooh.
He said, I came out of the coma. Oh, hang on a minute. All right. So I'm going to read it because it's medical. All right. It's medical. He said, I came out of the coma with no colon, no functioning spleen, and no sight. It wasn't really easy. It wasn't easy at all. It took a while to come to terms with. Yeah, I could think so.
I would
Yeah.
imagine so. Yeah.
Right. So that's quite serious. And then he got admitted. He got to admit that it came as a shock. He was obviously that's going to come as a shock. You're going to wake up out of a coma and they tell you all that. So let's have a look. Before the operation, he had trouble walking, and that's why he needed the operation. He used to be a marathon runner, so obviously quite an active gentleman. And after his coma, I want to see about this lady with the red coat.
Yeah. Where's more on that?
Yeah, I'm drastically looking. Oh, there we go. He began to tell people what happened. So he said, where's the lady with? There's no lady with red coat anymore. She's gone. It's all about him and his family.
She really was a ghost. She's just gone.
Yeah, I was getting into that. Oh, hang on a minute. He said, oh no, it's okay. So it's all gone about being positive and stuff. And all
Well,
right, so that
that's
story
good.
was a washout. That was like
Something came out of good came out of it if he's
it
being
did.
positive.
Yeah.
Well,
He's not.
I wonder he must have seen her. So he says he saw her like there at the beginning of the article.
Yeah.
Saw her when he was out of the 10-day coma,
Yeah.
but he's blind. How?
Well, actually, saying that, if you think about it, people who have been in hospital, this is one of the actually, this is quite good reading that because this has made me realize that one of the things that fascinate me is people go to hospital,
Mhm.
and when they're in hospital and they having a traumatic operation or they've had an accident and they're recovering, or for whatever reason, they have visits from people. And
Yeah.
those people that visit them, they could, dead relatives, stuff like that. And people see people in the hospital
Mhm.
near where the other people are, and they say, "Well, that was Auntie Doris, but Auntie Doris died 20 years ago,"
Yeah.
and they only get fleeting glimpses of them. And I have to say that if anybody listens to, I'm going to do a bit of a shameless plug-in now. Not for the Paratalk, but for another podcast called Haunted. And it's, I think, Danny Robbins, I think. No, it's Danny. Yeah, he does it. It's a really, really good podcast. But he told the story. Well, he didn't tell the story. He interviewed the nurses that worked in the hospital where they cared for a gentleman who was dying, basically.
Mhm.
And after the guy had passed away, the room that he was in they had all this crazy stuff going on. The machines were going on, the alarms were going off at night. They had stuff going on just for quite a number of days after this guy had passed away. So I find it fascinating with hospitals. I don't know why, but when you go into a hospital at night, and I mean, I have had that experience. Not going to go into it. That's all right. I'm not going to start. He's going to go on those stories again, but I'm not. But when you go into a hospital at night and you're walking around and you know that there's like a skeleton crew on doing their thing, so it's a bit weird, isn't it?
There's certainly a creep factor to it. I've been told on multiple occasions that the most haunted location one could go, paranormal investigating are hospitals. That's
Mm,
that's where the activity is at, and I
mm.
completely understand why. There's a lot of emotion. It's a building specifically built for a lot of hard moments, a
Yeah,
lot of quick endings to life, new
yeah, oh yeah,
beginnings to life, just death and a lot of emotion. So I get why it would be so, have soaked up that energy so much. But back to what you were saying, it made me think when people are reporting seeing things, especially in the hospital, like dead relatives and all of that.
yep,
Like that is a phenomenon that's highly reported with
hmm,
people who are near, end of life. Hospice nurses will talk about that. It's something that they include in the pamphlets that they give the families now because it's a well known thing. It happens quite frequently, and then yeah, just of course, just that hospitals themselves are incredibly haunted. So yeah, I understand why people report seeing these things when they're there. I've
yeah.
been in hospital, I didn't see anything, but just curious.
It's more of a feeling, isn't it, when you're in a hospital? But
Yeah.
going on from hospitals, I've got another. What do you think about dolls and stuff being having like vessels, like being you go to eBay and you look on eBay for a haunted doll, and you see a doll. Doll is maybe is the name's Annie, and it's a little doll, and it's got a ghost in it, and it's on for sale for 9.99. And you can basically adopt a ghost. What do you think of that?
Oh boy. It's not a popular opinion. I don't necessarily think that any object can be like a vessel for a spirit to possess. I do think about it kind of similar to how I think about locations. Is that anything has the ability to kind of take on that energy, get charged with that sort of energy. Are you adopting a ghost? The little ghost named Annie that lives inside that doll? No, that's not happening. In my opinion, that's not happening. Could there be some energy attached to it? Maybe back in the day, this was the favorite, beloved doll of a
Yeah.
little girl who died, and she loves to hang around it in the afterlife. Sure, absolutely.
Oh yeah. I do think I spoke to Kevin, relayed a story to me from We Need to Talk About Ghosts podcast,
Hmm.
and he told me a story that many years ago he was able to hold things and have feelings and thoughts
Yeah.
of events in his mind, in his mind's eye. It
Mhm.
was a fascinating. He recounted a fascinating tale. But yeah, I mean, I'm hopefully getting him back on a stream, and I'll get him to recount the story. But it's a fascinating tale that he tells.
Hmm.
Um, but one of the reasons was saying about you know Annie the doll, who's got a ghost in it, and it's on eBay for 9.99 with free delivery and yeah, PayPal.
Okay.
But
It's a good deal.
yeah, terrifying haunted doll weeps tears of acid and tries to set itself on fire. That's the headline. It weeps tears of acid and it
Mhm.
tries to set itself on fire. Why would it want to set itself on fire? Does it hate itself so much? But anyway, this guy in England, um, he goes by the name of Matt Paranormal. I don't know. I don't know if it's his real name or it's a made up name, but that'd be pretty cool if his last name was
It's
Paranormal, wouldn't it?
it's on his birth certificate, Reeves, okay.
Yeah. So Matt Paranormal brought the haunted doll. Oh, and the haunted. Strangely enough, the haunted doll's name's Annie. In an auction. Oh, it's getting weirder, isn't it? Because I was just talking about all
Mm.
this. I didn't look at the page.
Oh.
So Anyway, so I'm getting all confused now. So Annie brought an auction after reading up on the history and the death of the previous owner who tragically died in a fire. So if you
Mhm.
had a doll, right, and I'm not saying anything happened to you, but something did happen to you. Maybe you had an accident or whatever, and
Mhm.
then you said, "Oh, I had the doll, and I went out, and now it broke my leg, and do you want the doll?" I would like, no, you can look after. I don't want it. I wouldn't want it because I'm not so superstitious, but I don't want a broken leg. So a terrifyingly haunted doll which weeps tears of acid and tries to set itself on fire has been rescued by a ghost hunter after a house fire.
Mhm.
The doll named Annie, and similar to those featured in the classic horror films. What? Oh, I suppose, yeah, yeah, okay. I don't watch a lot of the modern horror films. I'm not really. I'm
Oh,
not.
like The Conjuring, like
Yeah,
that, like
well,
Annabelle?
yeah, that's it. Like Annabelle
Mhm.
doll. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
yeah. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Although I did watch a bit of The Conjuring. I did because they kind of based that off of 70s sort of style. It was pretty well put together, but when it started to get like all kind of crazy and that, I'm like, no, I can watch no more of this. It's gone a bit
Yeah,
silly.
yeah. It got to a certain point. It's a series of movies now,
Yeah,
and it got to a certain point where I was like, okay, it was good when it
yeah,
started out. I remember being terrified. That was
yeah.
back when it first came out. But yeah, it just kept going, and sometimes those series they're trying to milk it for all they're worth. But the first ones were good.
So, Matt Paranormal, 33 from Wales. It says after purchasing Annie 2 years ago, Matt experienced a whole host of strange occurrences, including the doll trying to set itself on fire. Isn't that weird?
Hmm.
The doll a doll that sets itself on fire tried to set itself on fire. What are the chances? So he claims its previous owner appeared next to her images and witnessed the doll crying acid tears. That's a whole story in it. That one sentence.
Huh.
He claims the previous owner appeared next to her image and witnessed the doll crying tears. The
Hmm.
supernatural fan spotted Annie at an auction in the US from your neck of the woods, and was keen to buy her. Said, but the doll did not cost a huge amount of money. And Matt fitted her with. He's got monitor. He's got like monitoring equipment in her, so she lights up and flashes lights. So it's like
Hmm.
an EMF detector and stuff in it.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, right.
yes.
So, well,
He's a paranormal investigator.
it says she cost £100
Yeah.
after I imported her to the UK. So what does he write on the import documents? Please describe what it is you're importing. Well, it's a doll, but it's haunted. It's got a ghost in it. How do you what do you write? Because you got to be honest.
My new daughter, maybe he thinks he's adopting her.
Yeah, I had paranormal equipment installed into her, and I thought the previous owner's spirit might be attached.
Hmm, so
Okay,
he
so
so he liked that backstory. He that
yeah,
that sold him.
yeah. So it goes on. He says the doll's weeping following the death of the owner and denial. So it kind of reminds me of like a bit of a horror film
A
kind
little
of
bit,
thing.
yeah, the setup here,
Yeah,
yeah.
a
Mhm.
little bit of a horror film. So I mean, have you ever have you? I'm going to ask now. Have you ever had any guests or anything on that have had haunted things
Mhm.
or been given haunted things?
Yes, I just recently had Steve Hummel on the show a couple weeks back.
Right.
He's an investigator with Paranormal Quest, which is a pretty well known team. They've been at it for
Yeah.
about a
Right.
decade. And he owns and runs a museum out of West Virginia that is for haunted objects. And he's got rooms upon rooms of this stuff. And it's just stuff he's collected, over the years. And a lot of stuff people have gone out of their way to give him, like, please, take this out of my possession, just home it somewhere. And that's what he does. And he's an ordained minister as well. So I think that plays into like, feeling comfortable around
Yeah.
this stuff no matter what might be attached to the object. I did ask him, like, do you bind, do some kind of like a binding, like they did with Annabelle, and he doesn't really do any of that. He relies more on a like his prayers and that kind of thing for protection from it. But yeah, he's been doing that for round about the time he started with Paranormal Quest as well. So good decade.
Hmm.
And it's very convincing, when I talk to somebody like that. It's so it's interesting to hear somebody who's literally an expert on that subject.
Yeah.
Something that I don't know too terribly much about, but yeah, that's always just fascinating to dive so deeply into that world.
So, yeah, I'm kind of I'm a little bit conflicted with it's like anything. As soon as something becomes popular, everyone
Hmm.
tries to make, they all try to make a little bit of money from it, and that's just the
Sure.
way the world is. And
Yeah.
if you can, if you're doing offering a service and it's a good service and you're helping people and people want to give you some money, that's fine. I mean, this is kind of stigma with people who are investigators, paranormal, where if they charge a fee for something, it's like you shouldn't be charging. If you got to,
Mm-hmm.
if you should be doing it for free. Well, I don't I don't I don't go to work for free, so it is work. You are
Right.
having to learn a trade to say a trade, but you have to learn a certain skill set to do the job you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's your time too. Your time is
yeah,
valuable.
and I think that a lot of when you investigate paranormal places, I think a lot of the skill that you need is people skill. You need to be able to
Mm.
manage people because the people that are experiencing whatever they're experiencing, you need to be able to sort of talk to them and kind of figure out what's going on with them because most of the time, not all of the time, but some of the time, let's just say some of the time, the problem isn't with their environment. The problem is with them. They're the ones
Mm.
that have got the issue, and they are maybe scaring themselves a little bit too much to be
Oh,
believing that
okay.
something's going on.
Okay. So
So
they're actually it's kind of
yeah,
going on in their head. That's not that they're stirring up activity. It's just the way
well,
that they're receiving.
yeah. I mean, put it this way: I've gone to places, and I've gone into a place, and somebody said, "You don't want to go there. There's a ghost that'll put you down the stairs. You don't want old Bill. He's mad. He'll push you down. Ghost mad."
Yeah.
And you go there, and that's in your head. You've been
Mhm.
told that that's going to happen.
Mhm.
So every set of stairs, I'm not going. I'm not going up the stairs. You go upstairs. I'm not going because I'll get put. And you believe that's going to happen. So I think that when when people front load you with stuff like that, and
Mhm.
enough people tell you you're going to kind of start to believe possibly that it's something more than what it is. And I'm not saying that people don't experience stuff because they do. Uh, but there's sometimes when people experience stuff, it might not be what they think it is, you know?
Yeah, 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 kinda build themselves up a little bit
Yeah.
too. I'm with you on that about the front loading. I think that can have a major, psychological impact on how you actually experience
Yeah.
whatever it is, the ghost that pushed you downstairs or a haunted doll.
Yeah. Or a
Mhm.
haunted doll that
Yeah.
bleeds acid and sets itself on fire. But no, yeah. I mean, I'm flippant about things, but I do. I am serious when it comes to be needed to be serious. But it's all about you have you have a story. Somebody gives you a story, and they tell you something, and it's like, don't tell me what about anything about this building. Don't tell me anything
Mhm,
at all. If I'm going to go in
mhm.
there and I experience something, I want to come out of there and write it down and then say, "Is this what it is?" And if they go, "Yeah, that's it,"
Yeah,
then
yeah.
okay, then I most probably experienced something. I don't now have to understand what it is I might have experienced because I do think the paranormal plays a quite a big part in here than
Mhm,
outside. So I think that as I've said many times before, that I think that we might be us people might be the catalyst to things going on around us. So there's many times when people have experienced stuff and they said, "Oh, do you see that?" And they're like, "Yeah, I saw it." And there's people they say they saw the same thing or they saw something that was slightly different.
mhm.
So paranormal, it's weird, you know.
Hmm.
But
What what do you mean by us being the cause of
oh,
it?
okay. So right. So if think of us as little batteries. We're little Duracell batteries walking around. So we give
Mhm,
off energy, and we give off that energy charge, right? So if you go into a place, say you go into an old building, a lot of the older buildings in the old days we've got a lot of quartz in them, a lot of limestone, and a lot of these a lot of these stone they will hold a charge. And
Hmm.
if there's enough stone and it's big enough, this is where the stone tape theory comes from. Past events being played back under certain, uh, you know, weather conditions, certain electrical. When a storm comes, it charges the atmosphere, and in those times, they say that the chances of seeing something paranormal or experiencing something paranormal is quite high.
Okay.
Energy,
Okay.
because energy is charging the atmosphere around it. It's just a theory. But anyway, so if we go into a place and we experience something, are we the catalyst? Are we the trigger? So we go
Hmm.
into an old place where something happened a long time ago, or if you think about it, right? Let me just give you a story. There's a lot of castles over here, right? There's a lot of
Mhm.
castles, and I live in a castle. Well, I don't live in a castle, but if I did that then, and I was, nobility, I would live in a castle, or something like that, or a
Mm.
fortified place.
Mhm.
Well, those people would have they'd have like people that didn't like them. So and then those people would try and kill them, or they'd try and take over their castle. So if you captured those people, you'd have what was called an oubliette, which is basically a hole in the castle, which went a shaft that went all the way down to like a dungeon area with spikes and stuff at the bottom of it. Now, if I didn't like someone and I captured them, I'd just throw them down the oubliette, throw them down there and forget about them.
Mhm.
And I would carry on my day, and they would just die. They just starve, or they would, if the fall didn't kill them, they would just starve and die. Now, if you think about it, if someone's in a place like that with other bodies, people dying or whatever, surely in some way that might charge the atmosphere, the building, the stone,
Sure,
you
sure.
know, so if someone else walks in there and they're the right kind of they got the kind of right vibe, uh, they could experience something. So when they experience something paranormal, maybe they're experiencing something because they are the ones that's setting off that playback, that
Oh,
whatever it might be.
okay. Are you so you're talking about, like, matching frequencies kind
Yeah,
of
well,
thing?
see, I don't like to uh, I don't like to get too specific about things because uh, it's very hard to say, well, scientifically speaking,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I don't like to deal in absolutes, because when it comes to the paranormal, you can't deal in absolutes. You have to,
Mhm.
all you can do is give an opinion and put ideas on the table. And you can put silly ideas on the table, and you can put ideas that are a little bit more logical on the table. I believe that we as a species are all in some way connected with, the atmosphere, with the
Mhm.
environment that we live in, and that some people, we go out there, we experience stuff, and we have an experience, and we think, oh, wow, that was crazy. And other people might not have that experience because they're not wired the same way. They don't have any interest. It's like,
Mhm.
for example, you can go into a place that has activity, and you can all be like, we're not going to see anything. Nothing's going to happen here, and nothing will happen. You could be with a group of people that are all jolly and happy and excited for the moment and wanting
Mhm.
to, and stuff happens.
Yeah.
What's actually happening there? Are they kind of tricking themselves to make things happen? Or because they're all jolly and happy, are they charging the atmosphere so that something can happen? And those negative people, you know, uh, you know, they don't have nothing happen because they're not putting the right kind of vibe into the atmosphere for
Yeah,
things to
yeah.
happen.
Yeah, 'cause that
I
is
don't know.
a big theory, and I think I buy it that extreme, emotions, even whether it
Yeah.
is, like, super jolly and happy or very, very angry or sad or whatever, that can draw some kind of energy almost, and some people would like to say, "Well, yeah, it's feeding off of that." I don't
Yeah.
necessarily know that, but yeah, it can I think that it can stir up things and attract like attracts like sorta thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, I like to think about all these weird things and come up with these kind of like, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, at the moment, the paranormal has taken a little bit of a back seat with ghosts, and that it's taken a little bit of back seat because of all the UFO stuff that's going on. Um,
Oh, yeah, front
yeah,
and center, oh my
yeah,
goodness.
with with all that that's going on at the moment, and everybody that's arguing all over the internet about it's this or it's that,
Mhm.
you kind of think, well, hang on a minute, let's just look at UFOs, let's look at ghosts, let's look at all of that, and think maybe it is all connected. Maybe it is all part and parcel of the same thing. Maybe that all these different things that we are experiencing is all in some way connected. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's fun to think about, that idea too that everything is connected, and I think I'm warming up more so to that idea. I never really cared too much about
Uh-huh.
the UFO phenomenon or alien phenomenon that much. I just assumed, yeah, that's something separate, and it's going on. Like I feel that like it's going on. Like it's weird to think that we're it here, that we're the only ones.
Yeah.
Um, so it doesn't surprise me that there's something going on, they're real, but this thought, I've heard a lot of people talk about this theory that everything is connected, maybe it's them causing all of the activity and phenomenon that we see here in our reality, that kind of thing. But I'm much keener on the idea that it is all connected nowadays.
So, do you think that do you think Bigfoot is a ghost? Do you think he's paranormal?
I think Bigfoot is an animal, a very elusive animal that has not been properly documented yet. Just like there are still many, many, many animals at the very bottom of the sea, Mariana Trench, that have not been discovered yet.
So, I did a live stream with my friends on Nocturnal Frequency, and we had the conversation about Bigfoot, and I came up with this idea that maybe Bigfoot lives in a village, and
Mhm,
he's got like a community of like Bigfoot people,
mhm,
and maybe that there's like a hierarchy. So you've got like family Bigfoot, you've got the other Bigfoots like the council Bigfoot, the King Bigfoot, and that kind of thing. I mean, it sounds funny,
mhm.
and it's like I could easily start making jokes about it, but if you think about it, when you when you these, I'm not going to say they're creatures. These, uh, well, they're kind of, they I don't know. I don't. Do you, they're just. I'm not going to call them apes because they're not. They're Bigfoots, and
Yeah.
they're kind of. They're not. They don't seem to be stupid. You know, they don't seem to be like you get people hunters that are in the forest, and suddenly these creatures will appear and be watching them,
Mhm.
and then they'll just disappear. They'll just be like they walk away and they're gone. And these things are massive. They're like 7 foot tall. They're huge, and you
Yeah,
think,
yeah. How do they just disappear like that?
yeah, how do
Yeah.
they? And I think to myself, if they're clever enough to do that, okay, fair enough. You're living in the forest, and if you're a deer or a rabbit, say I was a rabbit living in the forest, I'm going to be really quiet because I'm someone's dinner. If I'm a
Mhm.
deer, then I might be a wildcat's dinner. But if I'm a Bigfoot, I'm not scared of anyone because I'm a Bigfoot. No one's going to mess with me. I could most probably knock out a big animal or a bear. So it's kind of like you think to yourself, if they're that clever
Mhm.
that they can just kind of creep around and stuff,
Yeah.
then surely if you go on the pretext that the way that we evolved. Now, some people say that there's a point of our evolution. What was it, 40,000 years ago or something, that we suddenly had this blip in our evolution and we started to create great big things and we were become very, building buildings and had, all that stuff. That there was outside influence, that kind of pushed us on our way. But
Mhm.
if you think about it, we kind of evolved. And if you think about Bigfoot, he must be evolving in some way. And if you had like, I mean, I joke a little bit and I say like, a Bigfoot, there's a Bigfoot community, like a council estate full of Bigfoots, something like that. And there's like a shops and stuff, like, like not like we would have shops, but Bigfoot would have shops. Then maybe I don't know, maybe they barter or something. Maybe they just steal each other's food. I don't know. But they must have some sort of community. Don't you think there must be something out there?
Uh I don't. I've never thought about like a Bigfoot society is what you're
Yeah.
talking about. I've never really thought about it that way. You just often think of these any story that you hear about it, anything relayed to you about it, you think of these creatures or whatever animals as very solitary beings, like they're
Hmm.
just on their own, and I've never really thought about them packing up, going in packs or groups like that to be able to live like that. But that would be the survival of any species, though, too, especially one that's as elusive or small.
So I think Steve has brought up. Let me bring this up. Says my theories on Bigfoot would be one of paranormal theories, since Bigfoot witnesses have described fiery red eyes, ESP type
Ooh.
events. Yeah, so there we go.
Huh.
Paranormal.
Okay.
This is what
Okay.
I'm saying about the ghost thing, where we could basically have a connection with something paranormal. People see a Bigfoot, they said, "Oh, his eyes like fire," and we're
Mhm.
going into the territory of yeah, shot with rifles at close range, and nothing seems to happen. It just seems to go through them. So
Mm.
there's this kind of paranormal thing. But then again, we also have we get into dark territory now. We're going into the realms of the Mothman, the Owlman of Mauen, Indra Cold. You've got all this weirdness, all this craziness, all this kind of crypto weird stuff. And I think that the Bigfoot is kind of connected with that in some way. That kind of genre, that crypto genre of stuff, that Bigfoot is there. He's kind of
Okay,
you know,
you put him at the same level as
yeah, yeah,
Mothman and Honey
yeah,
Island, Sasquatch, that kind of stuff, like all the
yeah,
all
yeah.
the different ones. Okay, okay.
I do think that there's a chance that not all yeah, I'm okay. So Bigfoot could be, I mean, you think about it, right?
Mhm.
Bigfoot graveyard. Where do they because
Yeah.
if they're flesh and blood, right, then Bigfoot's got a graveyard, and it might not be like a Bigfoot church and a Bigfoot graveyard with a Bigfoot vicar. No,
Mhm.
none of that. But they're going to have something, aren't they? Because even early man used to bury their dead. They used to put them in the ground and put a little mound on them and some rocks and stuff. So they didn't just leave them to rot away. Well, maybe they did in the early days, but then they had their certain religions and certain beliefs. So yeah, so I'm thinking that maybe elephants go somewhere. They go to their elephant place to die.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
A couple of things about that. They are one is look at the areas that they're often seen in as these dense, unpopulated,
Yeah.
wooded
True.
areas. A lot in the
True.
Pacific Northwest, which is a rainforest. Something dies out in those woods
Yeah.
and they decompose very quick. That process is very quick. So, if a Bigfoot's out and about and they drop dead, out in the middle of nowhere, there's not a lot of human foot traffic going around. They could literally just disintegrate and disappear within, a week or two. But there's my thought was like, well, think about how elusive they are. Think about how quickly they
Yeah.
disappear. And then there is this intelligence factor to it as well. Maybe tying into what you're saying, if there is some kind of maybe a village, society or whatever, maybe they're going somewhere that we just don't have access to.
Ah, there's a
You know what I
film there.
mean?
Yeah, there's a film there.
There's a
Uh,
film.
there
Are
is.
we?
It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
the mystery of the Bigfoot Village. Yeah, that really makes me think. I really like thinking about that because I think
Mhm.
there's been so much. I watch a lot of the channel Small Town Monsters, I think it is, and
Mhm.
they do these really good documentaries, and the guys go out into the and you're completely. I mean, you've got some wooded areas and national parks which are absolutely ginormous,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
some of those places are not accessible at all. I mean, I don't know what's out there. I mean, these guys go into some quite overgrown places, but they're out there on their own, and it's like me. And no wonder they take guns with them and shotguns and stuff because you've got all sorts out there, bears and that's just mental. But what I was going to say was on the side of Bigfoots and forests and stuff. What's your take on the vanishing people? People go into a forest or go somewhere and
Oh.
they disappear and they're never seen again.
Oh, it's a little creepy. I haven't really thought too much about it. I know it's a big discussion too,
Yeah.
because what is it like hundreds of people just disappear
Go into national
in the national
parks.
forest
Well,
every year, like, and nobody
yeah,
has an answer for it, and they won't the park service won't
they
hand
no,
over the records or something
yeah,
like
they
that. I
don't.
know,
Well, they don't. They say they don't keep records, but we
right?
know they do keep records, and they are very
Mhm.
reluctant to hand over those records as to what research is done, and they also discourage people from doing active research. So, what's all that about?
Yeah, it sounds a little fishy to me, you know?
Yeah.
What do you hide? Why can't we just do active research on it? Why can't we see the names? We know you have them. Why can't we see them? Like, what are you hiding? That's
Now,
what I think.
going back to what you said earlier, when if someone has a fall and they fall down a cliff and they are, they die, and then the animals come along and they have a little bit of dinner, and before long, they're gone. They're just bones, and their bones get bleached, and they fall in the rocks, and they get washed away by water. Fair
Mhm.
enough. The chances are that they're never going to be found. But the thing is that a lot of these cases where people disappear, those areas are searched by hundreds of skilled searchers,
Mhm.
uh, you know, uh, the whole area. And then it might be a few days later that that person's body will just turn up. And it's almost as if that body has been brought there from somewhere else. There's no tracks around to show that that person's been dragged, or there was a violent fight. And also that some people, when they're found with parts of their clothing in the
Mhm.
wrong way around. They might
Yeah.
find them with socks inside out, or a shirt round the wrong way, or they might find them with parts of their clothing up in a tree. I mean, a case of a hunter who was really experienced. He knew what he was doing. He went out hunting, and nobody heard from him. And they basically, when they put the search out, they nobody found him. They couldn't find him. They found his buggy, his 4x4 thing. They found that, they found his rifle, and they found some ammunition. Okay. I'm not sure if the rifle had ever been fired. I'm not sure. But they eventually did find his body, and it was halfway up a tree, partly naked. But it wasn't
Oh.
it. But it wasn't. He wasn't gored or anything like that. He wasn't tried to be eaten or anything. He was just,
Yeah.
his body was up a tree. There's another case where hunters were in a forest and they were all in a line, okay, and they were some sort of tactic they do where they're in a line and somebody the other side makes a noise, and the animals run into their trap and then they shoot them. I don't understand how it works, but one of the guys who was on the end of the line of guys with rifles, he was, one minute he was there, the next minute he was gone, never seen again, vanished.
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
weird. And there's other cases where walkers have been out in groups and they've
Yeah.
been walking the track, deep in the national parks. They're walking the track, and one person will walk around the corner, and then the other people will get there, and that person's gone, and they don't know where they are. They look either side. There's a search, and they don't find them again. There's cases where these people have never been found again.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
what's
have heard
happening
a
there?
few. I don't know. I've heard a few of those types of stories, and it's not necessarily always ends in like either not finding them at all or finding a dead body somewhere
Yeah.
where it shouldn't be, or a position where it happens where children will sometimes go missing,
Oh yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know, on outings or whatever, and then they are found
Yep.
alive and well 6 miles away from where they disappeared. You know,
Yep.
one specifically was like a 3-year-old little boy found out in the middle of a marsh sitting on a stump. And you're right, it's almost like when these bodies or the people are recovered or they are finally found, it's as if, you know, there's no tracks, there's nothing going on around them. It's just as if they either apported to that location, or they were just dropped there. So, I mean, you obviously have a lot of thoughts about this. What do you
I do.
think is going on? Are they being abducted? What's going on?
Well, I will tell one case of a young boy who was he basically he went missing, and they didn't find him. I think it was 3 days or 4 days. They
Mhm.
searched everywhere. They couldn't find him, and when they eventually did find him, sat by a tree, with his coat on. He wasn't in distress. He looked like he was fed. He looked like he had a nice sleep, and he had food. He wasn't screaming, or he wasn't mucky or anything like that. And when they got him back, and they eventually, they had to talk to him and find out what was going on. He told the story that that a large hairy man had come and asked and said, "Do you want to come to where I live?" And that he took them there, and that there were other things there, like
Mhm.
what he in his child mind that they were there, and he played toys with them, and he had a conversation with them, and then they said, "Oh, it's time for you to go back," and like that was like 3 days later, and they fed him, they gave him food, they gave him like fruit and stuff like that. What was going on there? What was he? Did he make all that up? I mean, this is a little kid. I mean,
Yeah.
did he? I mean, you got to think. All right, I was a kid once, and I used to make stories up because I thought, well, if I make a story up, But you always, when you're a kid and you make a story up, you always make that story a bit too grand, and you always
Uh,
catch yourself out, you know.
yeah, 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 where you
But this
kinda
kid,
lose the sense of
yeah,
logic or reality, yeah.
I got lost once, right? I got lost on the beach, right? And I just it was quite busy. It was back in the 70s. We were down the beach. I lived in the city, so I went a bit mental. I went down the beach and I was running around with my brother. I turned around, my brother wasn't there, and I was all on my own. And I couldn't
Mhm.
see my mum. I couldn't see my dad, and I literally lost my mind. I was screaming my head off, running around, waving my
Yeah.
arms. Now imagine a little kid in the forest with on his own, and there's this, these big beastie things, and is he just going to go, yeah, all right, I'm up for that. Let's gonna have some, let's gonna have some grapes or something. So what's happening there? What's he experiencing?
I think, I mean, my feeling just listening to you telling me that story, I haven't seen it before, is that something obviously happened. Somebody
Yeah,
came along and saw this child out in the middle of nowhere by themselves and thought, "All right, I'll take care of them for a couple of
yeah,
days and try to get them back with their people or whatever." It's the interesting part is he describes the the person
yeah, yeah.
as a big hairy
Like a
man.
hairy man. Yeah,
What
yeah.
does that mean? Is that the exaggeration of a child's mind? Was it a Bigfoot? What's what's
Well,
going on?
well, you raised something there I can add to. If you think of the paranormal in the sense that as we go back to what I was saying earlier about the way that we understand and the way that we experience it, um, if you think of it this way, if you have something in your life that happens and it's so traumatic
Mhm.
that your mind cannot handle it,
Mm.
your subconscious usually jumps in and goes, "It's all right, I got it. I can handle this. I'll make some up for you. Don't worry."
Yeah.
So when you think about people that have gone through really traumatic events,
Mhm.
you're gonna think they have these kind of subverted memories, or they have these memory blanks where they have no memory of an event actually taking place. They know something happened, but they don't have any memory of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So um, maybe it's a case that the children are experiencing something out of the norm, but
Mhm.
in their little child mind, they're pulling on stuff that they understand in a child sense to understand, like teddy bears and stuff. That's what they're seeing. You know,
Mhm.
you think that w- it, you can if we don't understand, we don't see something, we don't understand it, so we have to kind of understand it from the point that what we understand. If you're,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, and like to the point, like if if it's a traumatic event and
yeah,
they're kind of filling in the blanks for themselves. I mean, that's a common defense
yeah,
mechanism, but on the other hand, like a lot of children, and I'm just reading about this now, so it's on my mind. But children, especially young ones, will be the ones to report seeing these
yeah,
very odd things that we as adults have maybe kind of shut our imaginations down or shut that part of our mind down where we
yeah.
don't see those things. So automatically, it's like, no, you didn't. That's not real. It's imaginary friend, whatever the case may be. But it is a majority of the time these young children are like, yeah, that's the purple lady that is in my bedroom at night, or no big deal to them. Like it's happening to them. It's their reality.
So my I wanted to add on here with young children in modern society. You have young children that suffer from what we call night terrors. The
Mhm.
the evil man in the closet or whatever. I've had that when I was a kid. I used to suffer from that, and I know other people that had it as well. Um, do you think there's some sort of connection there with when you were young, you just brought up when you were a young kid? It's kind of like you seem to be more susceptible or more aware of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
the paranormal stuff, the weird stuff that goes on. Do you think there's a connection there?
Yeah, I just think at that point you haven't put your barriers up
Yeah,
yet, your boundaries, because I still fully believe that there is more than meets the eye here. The paranormal is real. As to what extent or what it is or what's causing it, I don't know
yeah.
that, but there is something extraordinary going on. So can children see that? Can they sense it? Can they experience it because they just haven't closed that part of their mind to it yet, or they haven't shut that off for themselves yet, as most people do as they get older and start becoming skeptical about these things.
So, when you was younger, did you have any of that weird stuff going on?
I didn't really experience anything like that till about like I was in teenage years, like early teenage years when I started experiencing some weird things, which, for the following decades afterwards, I looked back and was very skeptical. I was like, no, 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 that's just, night terrors, sleep paralysis, whatever. I wasn't actually seeing anything and have
Yeah,
only recently come around to it. But yeah, during that time, like early teenage years, I had premonitory dreams. I saw weird dark masses kind of skirting along ceilings. And I saw a figure one time at the end of my bed. And I just chalked it up to like a hypnagogic, hypnopompic kind of
yeah.
hallucination. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe there
So,
were things happening.
as we're getting to the end of this episode, the first Paratalk inaugural live stream. I know people would most probably want me to stay and talk all night, but I've got the washing up to do. No, seriously. I What I wanted to get from you was the paranormal in general, the way it is today, with the advent of all the telly programs and everything. Where do you see the paranormal in maybe another 5 to 10 years? Do you think that this kind of interest in it is gonna fizzle out, and everyone's gonna move on to something else, or do you think that it's gonna carry on as it is at the moment?
I think it will probably go down a little bit, fizzle a little bit, just because right now, like science and logic is king, and there's all this other stuff that we're focusing on. So,
Yeah,
I think it will either remain, or go down a little bit. The paranormal and the fascination that people have with it will never go away. It's been around since the beginning of human history. It's not going anywhere, but it may take a dip here for a little bit in the next 5 to 10 years.
yeah. And
Yeah.
with the paranormal, do you think that, for example, tomorrow they turn around and say, yeah, we just want to let you know there is an afterlife, and when you pass on, you go to wherever you go, and you can have
Hmm.
all the things. Uh, do you think that that would have a detrimental? Would that be a positive thing, or would that be a negative thing?
I mean, so many people already truly believe, have that deep faith that there is something afterwards. So, is it already a detriment? In some cases, sure. If we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt tomorrow that yes, there absolutely is something after this,
Yeah.
I guess I can only speak for myself personally. I would just be relieved, and that would be the only difference. I would conduct my life no differently.
Okay, and what about UFOs? For example, aliens are here, they're here, whatever, space brothers. Do you think all of a sudden people are going to go, "Oh, can you, little Bobby, he's got a bad knee. Can you make it better? Can you do that for us?" Will they be the new messiahs, or will they people start to treat them as a something new to worship?
Ooh, I think there's always gonna be those types of people that would. Yeah, that part of our society isn't going to go anywhere either. But there's going to be a lot of us that would be able to just see the reality for what it is, right? It's just another intelligent species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I sometimes worry that if Mr. Whoever came from wherever he come from and landed in, you know, I have this, you think about space, right? I'm going to get a bit spacey for the last part of this stream, but if you think of space, right,
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of a I've got a little bit of a fascination with the planets and Mars and all that because
Mm.
I'll tell this story again because I didn't tell you it. But a long time ago, well, 20 years ago, 2 decades ago, when they were having all the Mars thing, and they were trying to, NASA were trying to, or JPL were trying to raise money to
Mhm.
send a lander to Mars. They wanted public support, and as a I was somebody would go to their website and look at the pictures. I thought, oh, I'm going to put my name down. They wanted people to submit their names because the more people that submitted their support, the more chance that they would get funding from the American government. And it was a raging success. They got millions of names, right, from all around the world. So obviously they got their funding to send a lander to Mars. One of the great things that came from that is that they created 2 discs, right, of all the people's names that people had submitted, and everyone got a certificate. I got a certificate because I sent my name in to say I pledge support, and my name got put on one of these discs with all the other people, right?
Mhm.
And when the landers went to Mars, the discs were etched and put into the actual panels of the landers. So when the lander that lands, and then the rover comes off and goes and does its thing. So I have a little bit of a connection with Mars because my name's up there on one of those landers, which is great. I don't know,
Yeah,
it's
it's so
fantastic.
cool. Yeah.
But I love looking at Mars. When I look at Mars, I don't see rocks and I don't see desolation. I see the remnants of a past civilization that had some amazingly massive cataclysm that possibly happened to it.
Hmm.
And it's been left and eroded for hundreds hundreds of thousands of years. And all we're seeing, okay, is the tip.
Mhm.
Everything is under the sand. Everything is covered up. I know it sounds a bit crazy and I sound a bit bonkers, but that's my theory. And there's a lot of people out there that look at the show stuff and you think, look at the pictures and you go, oh, it's a bit weird. I don't, it doesn't look normal.
There's some strange, pictures. You might have
Yeah.
sent me one that I saw recently of
Yeah.
a doorway. There's
Yeah. The
a
doorway of Mars.
doorway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay. So I'm a little bit on the fence with that because that could be geology, and that could be a piece of rock that's broken off that looks like a doorway. It's very hard to
Okay.
tell because you
Okay.
can't actually see inside. But there
Yeah.
are lots of other things on Mars that just don't look right, and I find it fascinating. But anyway, going back to space, looking at the vast differences in distance, when you can say, oh. One part of the galaxy or one distance to a nearest star is like was it 25 million light years or something crazy like that. I can't
Mhm.
imagine how long it would. It's a mega distance, but it's a very small distance in the distance of space, the vastness of space.
Mhm.
So when we think of ourselves on this tiny little planet, this little speck of sand, right, on in a vastness of space, and then we think to ourselves, well, clearly these aliens are coming to visit us because we're important. We've got something they want. No, I don't think that we've got anything that they want. I think that possibly we are the product of what they're doing, and they're just keeping tabs on us as
On
they
their
are.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're at school, you put bacteria in a petri dish and you watch it. You put it in a little oven, you put it in the thing, and you watch it grow. And I think that there's a possibility that when you say, "Oh, they're coming from vast distance," I know maybe not. Maybe they're already here. Maybe they've been here for a very long time, and we have got this kind of innate sort of stick up our rear that we're the best and that we're the most important when we're most probably not, because all we do is kill each other really and fight each other over petty stuff. So yeah, when it comes to Alan the alien landing on the the outside the. I don't know why he would land outside the White House. What would he care? He's what why just land on the beach? But so he would land, and then he would come and he would say, "I'm here. I've come because I am the alien," and everybody would sort of immediately go, "Oh, can you? My granddad's got a bad arm. Can you heal him? Or my son's sick. He's really sick. Can you heal him? Because they've got they've got the power to do that.
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
I think that would create a bit of a problem because then we would start to uh, the Church of Allen. Everybody would go and worship him. It's I just think that's a bit of a maybe that's why they haven't well, either this, they haven't shown themselves because of something like that, or
Yeah.
I don't. It's got nothing to do with governments. I don't think if they're about, I don't think they give two hoots what governments think. I don't think they care what who in the White House or who at number 10 what they think. I don't think they care about. They're not important. They're just listen. They come from wherever. They're maybe tens of thousands of years more advanced. They're not really going to care what the prime minister or the president thinks because if they want to do something, they'll do it. You know,
Mhm, mhm.
simple as that. You're not part of the equation.
Yeah,
So
yeah, they don't need
yeah,
permission from any higher ups. I mean, we're all basically the same. I would think the same
yeah.
to them across the board. They're interested in the species
I
rather
think they're more
than.
interested in the planet than they are us. I think.
Oh,
I
okay,
think. Yeah, that's what I think. I think
okay.
they. Let's look at planet Earth. It's a machine, isn't it? It's a living machine.
Mhm,
you know, and it's got an ecosystem, and and all the fish live there, and the squirrels or whatever, and we're coming along and we're just doing a big old all over it, aren't we? So
mhm.
they're like, hang on a minute, you can't be doing that. Get all them bottles out of the ocean. Stop drinking Coke. You
So
know,
do you think that's why the
I
extra sightings now?
Well, I think that the sightings are becoming more progressive and more prevalent because
Mhm,
we are all walking around with a camera in our pocket, and we're filming stuff. Like if you think about it, back in the day, even back in the 80s, we had mobile phones weren't a thing, and
mhm,
if you, I saw something in the 80s with my friend and my dad. I saw lights in the sky at night, and it was weird, and they flew off, and it was mental. And
mhm,
I know other people that saw stuff. I talked to other people that saw these, triangle. That could have been secret projects, but we don't know. But so yeah, I mean, but I didn't film it because there was no such thing. I mean, video cameras and that were even just, you were massive, huge things, TV camera size. So you didn't have that back then. But
yeah,
now everyone's got video cameras, good high quality cameras in their pockets, and they can film stuff. I will say that there's a lot of people out there that have got these high quality cameras that haven't got a clue how they work.
mhm,
So
mhm.
that's another thing why a lot of these videos are not very good. But there's people who've got stuff to document stuff. So there's a chance that that's why we're seeing more of it. But also the downside of that is that software has become so good now, video editing software, that when you look on the internet, you don't know you're looking at stuff going, is that real? Or is that After Effects?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
what is that? Is that because it looks so real that you immediately think, nah, it's too real. It looks too real, so nah, it can't be real. You
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, and, yes, everybody has the access to the way to
yeah,
document, but everybody's got the access to the photo editing programs and the footage editing programs now, so, yeah, it does kinda propel that skepticism that's already within us
yeah,
to just knowing that it's so easy to do and you can make it look so real. There are ways to tell, like, generally, there are ways to tell, and you do
yeah,
get very good at seeing the parts of it that you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that definitely was edited," but every now and then you do come across a piece of evidence or footage that's like, that's pretty convincing."
yeah.
No.
So, there we have it. That is that we've come to the end of the first Paratalk live stream. I think I enjoyed myself. That was fun.
That was fun.
Apart from
We went
whatever.
everywhere.
Yeah, apart from what happened at the beginning, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I think I need a new audio interface, but there you go. I was going to ask you. I wanted to thank everyone for coming and supporting the first stream. There will be more. I'm going to try and make this a regular thing. and have other people on. And obviously, Kristen will of course be back, so we'll sort of make it a semi-regular thing. Kristen, why don't you let everybody know if they want to listen to your podcast, where they can find it, and what a little bit about your podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's the Paranorm Girl podcast, and you can find it, listen to it anywhere. Actually, right now, any platform that you listen to your shows. And just to reiterate what I said at the beginning, it's a show coming from the perspective of a skeptical believer. It's an open-minded look at the nuts and bolts of what makes up the paranormal and this phenomena, um, and just trying to make sense of it, coming to some sort of opinion and conclusion for myself. So, I cover a different subject every season. So this upcoming season 4, it's going to be going up in just a week and a half, 2 weeks now. It's all on psychics and mediums, but definitely check out the last seasons. I've covered Mandela effect, shadow people, demons. So it's a very thorough deep dive.
Mm. Yeah, I
Thanks.
think anyone needing wanting to brush up on their skills, get a little bit of a different thought, needs to listen to Kristen's podcast, because it definitely goes into a lot of detail, more detail than my shows do. So yeah, I just wanted to put this up from the Blade Man. What are my thoughts on the upcoming UFO Chapel Green
Hmm.
film, as he lives near Bentwaters? Well, as we know what happened to Bentwaters with the UFO encounter. Chapel Green, yeah. I'm, I, I'm on the fence. Anything like that. Any new films coming up, I'm always happy to, sort of support stuff and listen and give it a fair shake of the stick. Unfortunately, I don't know what it is with modern programs and documentaries, but sometimes they have to overdo it and they have to make it too dramatic. I just want those documentaries that we used to watch back in the late 70s, where they were really. Some people might say, "Well, that was boring," but I want it like that, because that gets the facts over. Yeah, I'm keen to see what it's about, but we'll have to wait and see. I won't pass judgment until I've watched it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I wasn't familiar with that. I'll have to check it out
yeah,
as well. I'm not.
it's been in the making for a while. Yeah. What can
Okay.
I say? When it comes out, it comes out, and I'll definitely give it a fair shake of the stick,
And
as
real
they
quick,
say.
Rick, thank you. You're the best. Thank you.
Good, good. Anyway, yeah. So Paratalk podcast. And obviously Kristen has let you know what her stuff is. As I say, there'll be more live streams. If you have got any ideas for live streams, or if you've got any questions you'd like us to talk about on a live stream, you can always go to Paratalk Podcast and go to the contact form and write your stuff in there and send it in. And what I'll do is I'll make a little list of things that people want us to talk about, and I'll be sure to include it. But anyway, so thanks everyone for coming and supporting the show, and it's just, yeah, I will see everybody on the next episode. And of course, thank Kristen for coming on. So, yeah, until next time, everybody, take care. See you later.